We're in Durham, North Carolina for DjangoCon US 2024, getting the perspectives of different conference attendees, whether it's their first conference or their 20th conference. We want to know the advice that they could bring to maybe you who's considering attending for the first time. And with me is my friend and longtime friend now, multi-year attendee, Aman. Aman, how's it going?
It's going really well.
When did we first meet? It wasn't the last DjangoCon, was it? Or was it the one before?
I think it was. It was the last one. Yeah, that was my first DjangoCon right here in Durham.
Awesome. And you're local to the area? Or?
No, I actually flew in from Providence, Rhode Island.
That's right. So, wow, I guess the year before that it was in San Diego. So a cross-country flight versus a few hours down the road in the same time zone. I'm sure that's probably a little bit more convenient, right?
Yeah, that was one of the reasons I decided to come to this one last year, because it didn't seem like as big of an investment on my part.
Yeah,
or risk. Yeah.
That is one of the things that we talk about, or I guess we don't really talk about all that much, is kind of the cost of these conferences. Unfortunately, they are conferences that the tickets do cost in the hundreds of dollars, and that can be kind of a barrier for some folks. On the plus side, I think that the community has done a lot to at least try to make attending possible within a certain budget. I know they've done things have you done any of this stuff where I know people who have Airbnb together. Some people apply for an opportunity grant where DEFNA, the team that puts together DjangoCon, where they will actually pay sometimes partial, sometimes in full for travel and lodging and other things. Have you actually been able to take advantage of any of those opportunities?
No, actually, I've been really fortunate because I'm able to come through work.
Okay.
So they handle all the accommodations, luckily.
Yeah.
But I did notice when I was buying the tickets that it was great to see those options there, because I know not everybody has that opportunity. So.
Yeah.
For me, it was it was just really heartening to see that there's such an effort made to get everybody that wants to come to be able to get here.
Absolutely. Well, this is unfortunately the last year that's going to be in Durham, so maybe Providence could be an opportunity
easier for me.
Yeah, I think they have that process for suggesting a venue or a town, and I believe it's passed at this point, but I think that is one of the things that folks tend to miss is, bringing a DjangoCon to a town. Let's talk about Durham itself, because we've gotten ice cream a couple of times. We've walked around the town, and what has been your thoughts on just Durham as a city, but then also how Durham has kind of treated us as a conference?
I've had a really positive experience last year and this year. I think the food has been kind of a highlight for me. I'd like to try out different restaurants, especially local places. So from that point of view, it's been great. And the fact that the conference is in the same place as this hotel as well, it's been nice. We had thunderstorms and rain a couple yesterday, I think. And then, it was nice just to be able to show up here. So it's a lot of artwork around the area, so it's been pretty positive for me.
Yeah, I've noticed that DjangoCons they try to find a hotel that they can attach to that kind of eliminates the need of people having to call cabs and
that's
or walk a bunch. And Durham itself, very walkable city. It's especially the downtown area. I believe my watch has been hey, you're doing something different all of a sudden. So it's always good to see that. But let's turn our thoughts a little bit more to the conference itself. What has been one of the highlights of this year for you in terms of a conference?
It's hard to pick just one thing, but I would say there was one talk in particular that really stood out called Finding 2.0, where they related in software you have versioning, and it seems like a big deal to get to 2.0. But the speaker was able to tie it to personal development as well. And the idea behind a 2.0 number is it's a big change, it's a breaking change, not fully compatible with the old. So obviously that's a big deal in software because you don't want things to break. But in personal life too, if you're thinking of making a big change, there's never going to be a perfect time, and there's going to be some pain, and you're going to break, some backwards compatibility in a sense. So, but I think having gone through a process where I improved my life significantly by making that kind of a change, a few years back, that really resonated with me. So I think a lot of people will find a lot of value from that one.
Yeah, as a career changer, someone who's gone from the military to like general IT to leaving IT to going into, developer and developer advocacy type work, I definitely look at it like, hey, you pick up from some of the previous things, but you really do have to kind of, I don't want to say like completely shift your mindset, but you have to like try to like think a little differently. Like, the company that I work at, we like to say think sideways. So you kind of like, this is how I normally like process things, but maybe I like try a different approach to it. And just having, personal experiences. A lot of the talks this year have really been like, usually talks are fueled by personal experience, but like these have been talks that have like kind of tapped into like the psychology behind some of those experiences a little. And like, I think I've the first time I've heard of like Lacan being used in like a talk, which is really wild, but really cool. And it's interesting that you get that at a conference about a web framework and not like, you don't have to go to like the National Society for like personal embetterment or something. That you can go to DjangoCon and learn how to do things like end-to-end testing or like learn about the history of the web framework, but also get resources into maybe becoming a better web developer or maybe a better community member as well.
Yeah, there was actually another one that stood out. I didn't get to attend, but I'll be watching online. I think it was from Tim about how to handle a high salary if you make it into the IT world. A lot of folks don't know how to handle their finances necessarily at that level either. So it's really interesting. It's focusing on like the conference as a whole, developing the person, not just their technical skills, which are obviously important, but it's not the whole story.
Yeah, definitely ties into like, in order for Django to be a better web framework, you need a better community. In order to have a better community, you have to have better individuals. And it's not like better as in like the current ones are bad. It's just like the constant seeking of improvement, in the individuals themselves.
Yeah, that's really tough to write like a handbook for because everybody has different experiences. So I think that's another strength that really stood out to me. Because it's a global community. Actually last year, my first experience here was meeting 3 folks from outside the country. And then like the breakfast table, the next person was from Italy. So I was like, it took a while to meet somebody that was actually local. So that was, but yeah, it's I think that's a huge asset, getting all those perspectives in.
Definitely. Was there like an interaction maybe in the hallway or like around town that you had this year that kind of stood out for you?
This year, let's see. Yeah, I think I just sat down for breakfast, just asked somebody if they minded. So far, nobody's minded if I join in. So,
everyone's like, yeah, sit down.
Yeah, and I was like, it's always weird for me to start a conversation, but I think it started like, I just mentioned coffee, and then from there we just started talking about food. So it was really cool that it didn't feel forced and I didn't feel awkward. So that just kind of resonated because usually there's a little bit of hesitance for meeting a stranger, but it was pretty easy from day one.
Definitely. Well, unfortunately, this is going to be the last year, at least for a while, that DjangoCon is going to be in Durham. Is there something in particular that you would like to see in terms of the next place?
I think the location and kind of a downtown area where people don't have to just kind of take Ubers everywhere. That would be really cool, and somewhere where there's a diversity of just people and like the food. So I was able to try Indian food. We had Mexican the other day. So it's like, I think it'd be nice if it has that kind of diversity wherever we go. I'm
always down for diverse food and diverse people. Like I think like the combination of those are great. Like I think one of the highlights for me this year has been having people try sweet tea for the first time. In the South, like I grew up in the South, so I'm like very, very used to it. But I know that like it is a very Southern thing to have like very sweet tea.
Actually, that reminds me, for the lunch food here, that's also been really good. And I saw okra. I'm like, I'm not used to seeing that.
Yeah, like fried okra?
Like, then someone's like, you're in the South. I'm like, that's right. But in India, we have, that's where I'm originally from. We have like an okra dish. It's one of my favorites, but I just don't see that usually around the US.
That's awesome. So, I mean, I guess like wherever that new place is going to be, we're hoping that we can get some new faces. Maybe you'll be happy to join us. What advice would you give to someone that's maybe considering going to DjangoCon for the first time?
I'd say it kind of depends on your situation. So if you're able to come through your work, it seems like a no-brainer. I was able to learn so much, and the companies sent me back this year just because they got value out of it last year. So that's an easy one. So if you can go, and it'll be like your accommodations will be handled. Just take a chance. And then if you're just really hesitant because you feel like you're not a Django expert or you're not like a real programmer, quote unquote, I would say go for it, because I didn't consider myself a programmer, especially last year.
Yeah.
And I hadn't even made a Django project last year when I got here. I was able to come here because I was interested in Python. And then I came here, and then the community was incredibly supportive. They walked me actually through making my first PR on a public GitHub repo. Velda walked me through that.
Wow.
So I was like, that's where I started. I had no knowledge, but since then I've been able to make a couple of Django projects. So yeah, I think that's if you're hesitating because you feel like you're not technical enough, it's not a big deal. You just kind of show up. People see where you're at, and then they'll give you the support you need to learn whatever you need.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, I think that it's amazing to hear, like, you tend to forget, like, what it's like to be the first timer at an event, and also not have, like, a ton of experience to, like, have behind you as well. And I think having people that are super eager to help, super eager to say, hey, like, I can walk you through that if you have any questions. And that tends to be the experience that I've gotten just as a Python developer in the Python community, but especially in the Django community.
Yeah, and I would say the other thing is also keep in mind it's a relatively small conference compared to, say, PyCon US. I think that was about 3,000 people. This is more like
this is like a tenth of that.
DEF CON, last time I went, was about 30,000 people. So it's harder to make any connections there.
Yeah.
But here you see some of the same folks, so you can have some conversations, bounce some ideas. So it's it facilitates that, the smaller size.
Well, awesome. And hopefully, I hope with that advice, you'll join us for DjangoCon US 2025. But if you're watching this, I mean, you're probably watching this on our YouTube channel. Be sure to subscribe and like this video so that we can get it out to more people and encourage them to join us for DjangoCon US for the first time next year. Aman, thank you so much for helping, with this interview, but also just being like a friendly face in the last 2 years of DjangoCons and other events that we've caught each other at.
Yeah, thanks for welcoming me and showing me that the community actually cares. So
yeah, absolutely.
I think it made it real easy.
Absolutely, and we'll hopefully see you at the next DjangoCon US. Take care.